Hello Internet, welcome to Game Theory, Film Theory, Food Theory, GTlive.
If you couldn't already tell, we're talking about MatPat and his cinematic universe consisting of 3 channels. Well, 4 if you count GTlive. But I'm not going to be talking about that channel much in this video. This video is mainly going to be a critique on Matthew and his 3 main channels of game, film, and recently created food theory. I'm mainly going to be talking about that one. I'm also going to split this video into 3 parts. The first part being a brief history of MatPat. The second part is going to be my critique on his franchise as a whole, what he's been doing correctly and what I believe needs to be worked on. The last part of this video is going to be why I believe in my critiques on MatPat's channels. The story of MatPat, or Matthew Patrick, starts in Medina, Ohio, where he acquired 2 huge passions that will become important later on in his life: video games and theater. The first passion is important because it's what inspired MatPat to create a channel about gaming and math. He played a lot of early retro games growing up, and when you do something for many years, you start to acquire a vast database of knowledge on the subject. From Zelda to Mario, he used his vast knowledge of their franchises, sprinkled in a little bit of math, and presto, a fun channel that takes familiar faces from many different video game companies and turns them into 15-minute educational videos. But why start a channel in the first place? What's the point when you study your brains out, get a perfect score in the SAT, and gain a full ride through college? Well, that's where MatPat's second passion kicks in. See, since he was a kid, Matthew wanted a profession in theater, which is something I could never relate to. Nevertheless, he majored in theater in college along with neuroscience, and became a starving traveling actor. Keyword there being starving. See, as an actor, you don't really get paid the big bucks unless your name is out there or you're part of a big production. So, to compensate for this, MatPat sent his resume out to many companies. You'd think with how well he did in school, he wouldn't have a hard time getting a job offer. But apparently, companies don't care about your 4.0 GPA or your 1600 SAT score. 2 years went by. Still unemployed, MatPat started GameTheory. Not just as a creative project, but to show employers that he could work with computer and editing software and create videos that stayed on top of current trends. Now MatPat has 4 channels, which in total have 30 million subscribers, 30 million more people that will even see my channel in the future, that's for sure. On a serious note though, it's insane to me that a guy who on a last-ditch effort created a channel as a way to show employers that he can be useful. Now he is an employer and has a team of researchers and staff that help him make videos and content for over 30 million people. It's just insane to think about. Now that you guys have a little bit of backstory on MatPat and his channel, it's time to critique it. What does he do right? And what does he do wrong? Before we begin, I'd like to state that these are my opinions. Your opinion on MatPat may be different, and that's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinion. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's begin with what I like about MatPat. I first discovered game theory when I was in middle school, the prime of my childhood. I remember sitting on my iPad almost every day watching game theory videos on my favorite video game characters. Game theory was the place where I could just shut my brain off and just listen to a middle-aged guy try and persuade me that Mario was a communist or that Sans was Ness. That was what I found intriguing about MatPat, the fact that he just put a spin on things that I enjoyed, while also educating me on them as well. He used numbers, data, and secret bits of lore to try and persuade me that what he was saying was correct. And being 13 at the time, I ate that stuff up. And it was fun too. Film theory was even better, and GTlive was like the channel I never knew I needed. I just love the way MatPat and Stephanie bounce off each other, and how they don't just play mainstream games like Until Dawn and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Their hidden gems come from smaller, sometimes indie games that they play, like At Dead of Night, fan-made games like Pop Goes FNAF, and recommended games like Amori. That's the best thing about MatPat and his whole universe. They use their platform to give back, to push the fan-made games or the smaller titles. Some of those games are honestly hidden gems that I never would have seen if it weren't for GTlive or GameTheory, or sometimes even Film Theory. It makes their platform feel more like a community instead of a business. Adding to this point is how open they are with their lives and their fans. From when they lost $1.2 million from a scam, with their personal lives as parents raising a child. The platform has been very transparent and very welcoming. Then we hit food theory. This is where I started to question the route that MatPat was taking. On paper, food theory looked good, theorizing about food and being able to buy 10 pounds of chicken and call it a business expense. But in practice, it became less of a theorizing channel and more of a fact-spilling channel. For example, one video called Fruit Loops and Apple Jacks are secretly the same. That's secretly in all caps. He talks about how Fruit Loops don't have different flavors. They're really a combination of many different fruit flavors called fruit. That's fruit with 2 O's instead of a UI. I was watching that video thinking, I already knew this. I thought this was common knowledge. That's the point where I realized that this channel and some of his other videos sprinkled around his other channels were just telling me things that I could just Google and find the answer to. Captain Crunch not being a captain? I already knew that. Although he does go more into depth and speculation in his video. Can chocolate make you fall in love? Answer, no, food can't make you fall in love. Much less chocolate. It was just clickbait for Valentine's Day, and I could have looked up the hormones that produce love in humans. Dopamine and norepinephrine, by the way. That took about 2 seconds. And what makes them fire? Wearing red, which MatPat does say at the very end of his video. I do understand, though, the work that goes into finding credible sources, and to scour through hundreds of pages of books, scientific journals, and lore bits like the FNAF handbooks, or playing the game over and over again, just to find that one piece of evidence that ties everything together. Major respect to the researching team on that. But when it comes to things like, does Chuck E. Cheese really use pizza? Honestly, I could just look that stuff up myself. If Food Theory had more of those live segments where MatPat and Stephanie were just making and testing food, I think I would love it a lot more. But I get that setting up things like that is time consuming, and not to mention expensive. I think the reason why I've become so critical of Game Theory and its smaller channels is because I've grown up. As I've already said, Game Theory was a channel where I could just shut my brain down and be spoon-fed, digestible, easy-to-understanding content. Now, due to personal experience, I've learned to be more critical, and in turn less trusting of the media I consume. I'm starting to see things for what they are. A guy spilling facts to me over the internet. I can't just shut my brain off when watching his content anymore, and that was part of the whole appeal to me. Part of the problem with the whole Game Theory franchise is that it is opinion-based, but the amount of prior research done and the way he presents his findings almost seems like he's presenting his research as fact instead of just theory fodder for the audience to chew on and draw opinions on for themselves. I have no idea why I wanted to make a video on this. I just did. I saw a shift in the kind of content MatPat was making, and I didn't really like where it was going. I could always just unsubscribe, I understand that, but I love MatPat and what he does. Not voicing my opinion, to me, would be wrong. I want to see him do well, I just don't like the way Food Theory and some of the other videos sprinkled on his other channels are structured. I hope somehow that MatPat sees this video and acknowledges my criticism. And if you have anything else to add, or just hate what I had to say, leave it in the comments below. But hey, that was just a critique. A game theory critique. Thanks for watching.